In a previous video, I had talked about Valorant's forgotten skins, and in that video, I showcased older skins like the Ronin collection, the Imperium collection, what the Reaver used to look like before the final game came out, and a few concept arts, as well as references to variants to several skins that didn't make it into the final game. And while I covered everything that I sought out to cover in that video, there is still more to learn. In my previous video, you primarily learned about skins from beta, but in today's video, the forgotten skins I'm going to talk about are skins from alpha. I'm urnotjustin, and these are Valorant's forgotten skins, part 2. The world of skins on Valorant and their development is an incredibly deep topic. As consumers, we primarily focus on the front end of things, which is the final product that we get, and some of us will ponder about the back end of things. And if we go back as early as alpha, the skins and the topic at hand are still incredibly interesting. On the screen right now, what you're seeing is 2 collections that were alpha collections that did not make it into the final game, let alone the beta. They are called the Toy/Arcade collection and the Drip/Asgard collection. Now, while some of you may have seen this picture before, there's still quite a few things to be learned about it. Several people had told me that these skins were actually in the game in beta, but were only a developer weapon. And while I couldn't find any evidence of that being true, I was actually able to get in touch with somebody who works at Riot, and it's none other than the legendary senior concept artist, Sean Marino. Sean Marino is one of the many developers that make sure that the skins that are made in Valorant are incredible. While he's not the only person, he is the person that I got in touch with. Incredibly enough, Sean Marino actually has watched several of my videos, and obviously since all of the videos that I make go off of what I can find information for online, he had several things to clear up for me, as well as giving me props for things that I got right. However, to keep on the topic at hand, I would like to first talk about the Drips and Toy collection. Sean Marino was nice enough to open a DM with me, so of course I asked him about these 2 collections, like where they came from, if they were ever actually in the game, why they didn't end up in the final game, and this is what he had to say about it. I forget because it's been a while, but we had a number of skins that were being used to test out our store feature early on. I think even for as far back as internal alpha, before he went public with the beta, we had some skins in there just to make sure people could purchase, equip, etc. Drips or Asgard, BlastX, might have been called Earth at the time, and Arcade were part of the early tests. BlastX and Drips, for example, were removed for different reasons. Drips just wasn't good. It was a mess of gold and kind of just really generic looking. We knew we had Dynasty, which we felt was a bit more premium. And unfortunately though, we only had 2 weapons in that set since they were brand new models. BlastX was something that was tonally different, and we didn't want to come out of the gate with something that felt silly. That's actually why it came out 6 months later after the game launched. We wanted to give the game and brand room to breathe and grow before we started making things that were so tonally off. And those were incredible answers that I got. Let's see if we could explain it a little bit better for those at home. So basically, in the first message, Sean Marino is letting us know that those 2 skins weren't actually ever used. They were designed and they were functional, but they were more of placeholders while they were learning what skins exactly were and how the store was going to be. And before the beta came out, they wanted to make sure that their store was fully functioning, and they needed prototypes for the alpha version to make sure that the store could function properly. So they used the Drips and the Toy collection as, for a lack of a better term, test dummies to ensure that the store would work properly, as well as make sure that you could even equip the skins at all. I have over a billion questions that I could ask him, and I'm trying to pace myself so I don't make him block me. Sean's a nice guy, I don't think he would do that, but still, I'm trying to be as respectful as possible and not bombard him. The BlastX being called Earth is kind of funny. Without asking him, to me that kind of seems like it's specifically called Earth because it's supposed to rhyme with Nerf. I think that's kind of funny. I could be wrong on that though. But we can with confidence say that the arcade skins and the drip skins were designed as early tests to make sure that the functionality of equipping and purchasing them worked. Ultimately meaning that the skins were never in the game and never used, at least for the consumers. Moving onwards, we also got a few more tidbits of information, including information about the BlastX, and we found out that the BlastX could have came out a lot earlier than it did, but didn't simply because Riot wanted to have a better image before they started releasing goofier skins. And that only makes sense. If Riot were to come out with a more cartoony type skin, or maybe even something like the Winter Wonderland skins, very early on, that would turn the consumer off right away, and they would think that, wow, these skins are kind of cheesy. So you have to put your best foot forward in order to earn the right to put out skins like the BlastX and like some green screen skins or whatever other silly skins that may come out. As well, the Asgard or Drips collection didn't come into the game simply because it just wasn't good. Just looking at these skins, from my own perspective, they're big blocks of butter. And the developers for Valorant work really hard to make everything in the game stand out so it can be its own game. When the developers were trying to figure out what exactly their skins would be in the game Valorant, and what would make their own signature brand of skins be exactly what they are, the skins that we got in beta and alpha were simply them trying to figure out exactly what that meant. Which brings us to our next topic. Why did some skins and some variants not make it into the final game? In my previous video about Valorant's Forgotten Skins, I spoke about the Lux Collection, the Ronin Collection, and the Imperium Collection. The Ronin and Imperium, as we all know now, didn't make it into the final game, and the Lux Collection had 3 variants that didn't make it into the final game. At the time, I had no idea of why that was, and then Sean Marino watched my video, and in a thread on Twitter that Sean Marino made about my video, he had this to say: "All the skins in beta were made when we were learning exactly what skins should be. The thematics were insanely shallow, and we were trying to make more than we ever had up until this point. The actual quality of the skins is something we as a team are not proud of. They were kind of rushed, made in a time when we still had to figure out some art style things, and we knew that we could do better. Drips was a generic wrapper of a theme on a gun and not too interesting. The variants of Lux were removed because it was never a featured item, rotating only, and we wanted to draw a line between the difference of skins that were featured versus rotating only. We soon dropped the rotating only releases though. The Lux variants were also a bit generic. The red and blue ones fit the thematics of old classic cars, as was the inspiration for the skin. But the camo felt out of place, and the white and gold we soon realized we did everywhere, including Sovereign, which was released close to launch. As well, Sean Marino also included these little gems of info for me. Sometimes sketches from one skin or variant can become another entirely. Glitchpop and Magepunk actually came out of the same creative brainstorm where the artist misinterpreted Magepunk as Megapunk, which is really cool information in my opinion. As a fan of everything to do with Valorant, that is awesome to hear. But let's break down everything that was said here. The quality of the skins like the Ronin and the Imperium were just not the quality that the development team were looking for at that point. From an outside perspective, while we can all say that those skins are really cool, comparatively speaking to what we actually got in beta and when the final game came out, the Reaver and the Sovereign are way cooler than that, and are a testament to how they could do better and could create skins that were way better than anything that players have ever seen in the FPS genre. And I can totally understand where Sean Marino and the development team are coming from in regards to saying that the Imperium and Ronin don't fit what they wanted to make. A quick comparison that I could make right now is that the Imperium Classic looks like something that might be in Apex Legends. For instance, the first battle pass is Havoc. They look pretty similar, don't they? I believe that Riot prides themselves on making things that stand out in the best ways possible. Not just making things that are obscene or bright and colorful, but making things that are masterful, artistic, and incredibly distinguished in a genre of games that has so much content being put out on a daily basis. Where the development team was able to beat the status quo, they took it beyond that to make sure that everything that came out was special and not just contemporary. And this isn't to say that other games don't have special items in them. This is simply to say that when Riot makes something, they ask themselves, how can we make it better? I think that the ability to look beyond satisfaction is an important trait to have. And that's exactly what Riot did for the Imperium and the Ronin collections, in a time where they were trying to figure out their footing and what they wanted their skins to look like. Moving forward, interestingly enough, the Lux variants were removed due to a technicality, it sounds like. They had collections in the game, and collections had variants. The Lux items simply rotated in the store, but also had variants. So what they did was try to draw the line between the status of those two, to insinuate that one is more valuable than the other, because that is quite literally true. And while I understand the sentiment, what I find also interesting is that maybe this is due to a little bit of poor circumstance. The Lux had a variant that was white and gold, and unfortunately, there was also several other skins that were white and gold, like, for instance, the Sovereign collection. I can understand why a developer wouldn't want to put too much of the same thing in the game all at once, or even all in a similar time span, and while I understand why it was removed, I personally will not forget it. And I personally still think, even after the reasons that we've received, that we could still have that super ultra clean white and gold variant for the Lux. But that's just my opinion. I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. And I really hope that you guys learned something, because I'm very passionate about this game and about the skins in the game. If you made it this far into the video, leave me a comment that says Lux. Like the video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell for notifications so you do not miss a video. And as always, I'm Justin, and you're not. I'll see you in the next video.